Good morning. Yesterday you listened to a read aloud story called Zinnia's Flower Garden. Today we're going to look at some vocabulary from that story and answer some discussion questions about it. So if you have not listened to Zinnia's Flower Garden yet, go to yesterday's lesson and click on the YouTube link and go watch that now because we're about to dive into some vocabulary and look at some pictures from the story. All right. Our story was called Zinnia's Flower Garden. That is the title of our story. And remember that title is the name of the story. And our author is Monica Wells. What does the author do? That's right, the author writes the words. Here's some vocabulary from our story. Our first word is soil. Say soil. Soil is the dirt that you plant seeds in to grow a garden. Our next word is roots. Say roots. You can see that the arrow is pointing to the roots of this little plant. The roots are the part of the plant that grow down into the soil, and they soak up all the moisture and the good food from the soil to help the flower grow. Say sprout. The sprout is the part of the plant that first grows up from the seed out of the soil. It's like the little baby plant. A little tiny baby plant is called a sprout. You can see here that this sprout is growing just up from the seed. Our next word is seedling. Say seedling. A seedling is a young plant that has just started to grow. In Zinnia's flower garden, she is so patient and she waits and waits to see the first seedlings coming out of the soil. Her flower is growing. Say buds. The buds are the small bumps on plants that grow into flowers or leaves. So in Zinnia's flower garden, her flowers first start to bud. That's when the petals are closed up into a small tight bump. And as the flower grows, those buds will open up. Our next word is bloom. Say bloom. Bloom is when flowers bloom, their buds open up into a big, beautiful flower. So it starts out as a tiny bud, and as it grows and opens, that's called blooming. And we can see the beautiful, full, open flower. Say blossom. Blossom is the flowering part of a tree or a plant. You might notice if you've been walking around outside in your neighborhood, a lot of trees are blossoming right now because it's springtime. That means that they are getting flowers on them, and those flowers will turn into either leaves or fruit on the trees, depending on what kind of tree it is. Say fragrant. Do you know what the word fragrant means? What is this child doing? That's right. They're sniffing the flower, they're smelling it. Fragrant is when something smells strong, like flowers or food that's cooking can be fragrant. Let's talk about what happened in our story. What did Zinnia do first to plant a garden? Look at the picture. What did she do first? She puts the seeds into the soil. To plant a flower garden, we first need to plant the seeds. So remember, she dug up the soil to make a nice garden bed for it. And then she put the seeds into rows very carefully and covered those seeds with more soil and patted it all down. And then she sprinkled the ground with water. So first, she planted her seeds. How does Zinnia care for her garden? Notice what she's doing in the picture. What is she holding? She's holding a watering can. In order for plants to grow, you need to water them. It says that when the day is really hot, Zinnia takes water and waters her plants. You can also see on this picture there are some hoses and sprinklers. Maybe she uses those tools also to help keep her plants fed with water. Plants also need sunlight to help them grow. How does Zinnia feel about her garden? Look at her face in this illustration. What do you think Zinnia is feeling when she is in the middle of her beautiful blooming flowers? I think so too. I think she feels really happy. You can see her face is smiling. She's thrown her arms up in the air as if to say, I love my garden. And over here, we can even see her. She's relaxing in it, just kind of taking in maybe the smells or all the colors around her, the butterflies that are fluttering. It looks to me that she feels peaceful in her garden. Zinnia is planning a garden for next spring. Why does she need to wait until spring to plant her garden? That's right, the ground is covered in snow and it's really cold in the winter. Plants can't grow if there's snow covering the ground and if it's too cold. Just like you don't like to be outside in the cold, plants don't like to be outside in the cold. If you were planning your own garden, what would you plan to plant? What kinds of things would you grow? Those are some great ideas. Maybe some flowers like roses or sunflowers or poppies or tulips, or maybe some vegetables like carrots or peas or tomatoes. All kinds of different things can go into gardens. We're going to talk more about planting gardens this week. All right, here's what you're going to do for homework. You are going to make a list of what you would need if you were going to plant your own garden. Zinnia makes some plans for her garden for the spring. She thinks about what she's going to need and what kind of flowers that she's going to grow. So I want you to take a marker or a pencil or a pen, whatever you have at home to write with, and start making a list. You could write, what's one thing that you need to plant a garden? You need seeds. So you could write the word seeds. You can ask your mom or dad for help with your spelling, or you could also see if you can hear those sounds. Seeds. Think about the letters that you hear and you can write those down. Seeds. And you could draw a picture. Seeds are tiny. To help you remember, you need seeds for your garden. All right, let's think. What else do we need if we're going to plant a garden? What did Zinnia have? She had some tools. She had a shovel. We'll write shovel on our list. And what did she have? What was the tool that she had to water her plants? A watering can. We can write watering can and draw a picture of a watering can. All right, your job is to make a list. Think of all of the things that you might need to plant a garden. Seeds, watering cans, shovels. Maybe you would need some labels to put on the rows of where the seeds go. Think about what you might need and make your long list and send me a picture.